All right, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges in the entire tech world. How do you build an IT solution that actually does what it's supposed to do? It all boils down to a process called requirement analysis, and today we're going to crack it wide open.
It's the question that keeps so many people up at night. Companies spend millions, sometimes billions, on the latest and greatest tech, but so often it just misses the mark. If it's not solving a real problem, what's the point? That's what we're digging into.
And here it is, the core of the problem. There's this huge gap, this canyon, between what the business is trying to achieve and what the tech is actually doing. When those two things aren't speaking the same language, projects are pretty much doomed from the start. So here's our game plan for bridging that very gap. First, we'll look at the divide itself. Then, we're going to define the business why and map out the technical what. After that, we'll create a strategic blueprint, and finally, match those needs to real, actual solutions. You see, every great IT project is built on two fundamental pillars. You've got to deeply understand the business, and you've got to deeply understand the technology. They're not two separate things, they're really just two sides of the very same coin. And this is a perfect way to visualize that. On one side, you have the why. That's the business requirements. We're talking big picture strategic goals, what the competition is doing, the stuff that keeps the CEO awake at night. And on the other side, you have the what, the hard and fast technical requirements. What servers do they have, how are they performing, and what are their absolute limits? Okay, so let's tackle that first pillar. To really get the why, you have to look beyond the servers and the software and get to the heart of what the business is actually trying to accomplish. And that means you have to ask the right questions. What are the real goals here? Are we trying to slash costs, reach a new market? What's happening in the industry? And super important, what are the roadblocks? Are we dealing with a tight budget or maybe some really strict compliance rules, like in finance or healthcare? Answering these questions first ensures the tech is actually serving the business and not the other way around. Let's make this real. Think about an e-commerce company. Their goal isn't just, let's buy new servers. No way. Their real goal is to survive Black Friday. They have to handle that insane, totally predictable spike in traffic without the whole site going down and losing tons of money and customers. That is a business driver. So we've nailed down the why. Now it's time to get our hands dirty and map out the technical what. This is where we stop talking and start looking at the cold, hard data of their current IT setup. And this isn't guesswork, it's a full-on investigation. We need to know exactly what they're working with. Is it all on-premise in their own data centers? Are they in the cloud? Or is it some kind of hybrid mix? We need to look at performance metrics like server utilization, which is basically how hard their machines are working, and latency, which is just a fancy word for lag. And we absolutely have to identify the hard limits, like clunky old software that's holding everything back. And what's so powerful is how a single number can tell the entire story. For our e-commerce company, the data shows their servers are hitting 85% CPU utilization during busy times. Now, that's not just a technical spec. That's a 5-alarm fire. They are right on the edge of a total crash. So, when you put the two pieces together, the why, which is surviving Black Friday, and the what, servers screaming at 85% capacity, a potential solution just clicks into place. A hybrid cloud strategy would let them burst that peak traffic out to the cloud. They get all the performance they need right when they need it without buying a bunch of expensive gear that'll just sit around collecting dust for the other 364 days of the year. Now, gathering all that data is just the start. The next step is to actually turn it into a plan. Think of a solution architect like a building architect. You'd never start building without a detailed blueprint, right? It's the same idea here. And one of the best tools in the entire toolbox for this is a good old-fashioned SWOT analysis. It's such a simple but incredibly powerful way to map out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Here's a pro tip, though. For this to actually work, you have to be brutally honest, especially about the weaknesses. If you try to hide problems here, I guarantee they will come back to bite you later. So how does it work? Well, you look at internal stuff, like your strengths, maybe you have a great brand, and your weaknesses, like those old clunky systems we talked about. Then you look at the external factors, like opportunities. Hey, maybe moving to the cloud is one. And threats, like a competitor who's way ahead of you on technology. And here is where it all snaps together. A SWOT analysis isn't just an exercise. It's a direct path to a recommendation. You identify a weakness, that old, expensive IT. You spot an opportunity, a pay-as-you-go model that gets rid of huge upfront costs. And that leads you straight to a specific solution, like a consumption-based platform like HPE GreenLake, which literally turns that weakness into a strategic advantage. Okay, we've got our strategic blueprint. Now for the final, most crucial step, matching that plan to specific technologies. This is where the whole thing becomes real. This slide shows perfectly how different solutions can meet different business needs. It's not one size fits all. For example, if the goal is to improve operational efficiency, you might look at a management platform like HPE OneView. But if the goal is to get costs under control, a flexible model like HPE GreenLake makes more sense. It's always about picking the right tool for the specific job. Let's get even more specific. A business need like reduce IT costs doesn't just get a vague answer. Nope. It maps directly to a concrete technical solution, like moving to a consumption IT model with something like HPE GreenLake. See that? It creates this crystal clear line all the way from the initial business goal right down to the final technology choice. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Success in IT isn't just about building something that works. It's about building the right thing that works. A solution that is perfectly, and I mean perfectly, aligned with a company's strategic goals. That alignment is everything. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Take a look at the technology in your own world, in your own organization. What's the unspoken, the invisible business need that it might be completely missing? Because finding the answer to that, well, that could be the key to unlocking some serious, game-changing value.